Good morning. I guess it's Thanksgiving Eve. This is Jim the Keys Bartender coming to you from the cool and dry. You rarely hear that, well, except this time of year. The cool and dry Florida Keys. We're going to be in the mid-70s, mid to upper 70s today, I think. But it is beautiful. We've had our windows open. Unlike fresh air. Rarely, you know. I don't know how people live down in these neck of the woods before air conditioning. I can understand them living down here without heat. Just covering up some leaves and stuff like that. You know, you can get a little cold sometimes when it drops into the upper 40s on a rare occasion, but not so much. Not so much with the heat. You don't need that, but cooling down. I guess people just acclimated. It was just felt like it was 110. It always was 110, humid and stuff like that. I know there's warmer, worse places in the world, more humid year round, but you know this is up there. This is up there with when we get temperate weather. You know, it's a celebration on all its own. But combine that with Thanksgiving. You know, we're just still reopening internationally, and there's Europeans coming in, people from other parts of the world that are starting to experience lockdowns and stuff like that again. So they're coming to our neck of the woods during, you know, it's just the time they're available, and, you know, the time when their vacations are ready and when they're ready to leave. They're just fed of that. But you know, like we see them come into the bar, you could tell a little about how people behave before they even open their mouths. You expect to hear an accent. They don't necessarily have to be of a different, you know, have different characteristics, you know, topically, face-wise or anything. You can just tell by the way they hold themselves that when they come in. And usually they're pretty well behaved, I have to say. Very polite. Not always the most generous of tippers, but, you know, they don't know. They didn't grow up in an area where, you know, gratuity was expected. They just don't. Some of it, it's no pun intended, for foreigners, it's a foreign concept. Gratuity. They say, well, you know, sacre bleu. Why don't you just pay them what they're worth when they're working, you know? Oh, yeah. And then you have to pay it's more for the food and all that stuff. So, but we developed a tipping culture here. And that's the way it happens, you know? There's some people want to buck the tipping culture here. Say, well, I don't want to tip. I don't want to pay. But that's the way it is here. You know, if you want to, you know, that's not your decision. It was as a society we got together. Just like stopping for a stop sign or a school bus. That's what we as a group of people decided that's what we're going to do. If you decide you don't want to tip, you don't want to stop for a school bus, you know, you want to scream fire in a crowded theater, which probably is bad in any culture or language, not necessarily saying fire, because it's saying you'd have to say it in a language that is prevalent to the people in the area. I guess you could scream fire in the middle of a movie theater in, let's pick a place like Malaysia. Well, maybe not in English, because they're probably the second most spoken language in Malaysia. Maybe that or in Mandarin. I digress. That's my favorite word right now. I'm getting off topic. So if you scream, that's a foreign concept. I was thinking you can scream fire in a place where people don't understand English. Now English is probably screaming the word fire in another language like Navajo in a movie theater in Paris probably won't gain, just say someone's screaming up front. But then you can see one French Navajo, in the back row goes, I think he's screaming fire in French. Sacre bleu. But I didn't want to talk about foreigners. I'm just saying they know how to behave when they come in. Most of the time they're polite. But it's funny, you get people in, and I'm going to segue right into the Thanksgiving dinner from this. That's why we go house guest. We had, where we're situated on the map in the United States, where the Keys are off the end of Florida, right? Just coming off, it's like excess DNA coming off the member of, which is Florida, off the edge of the United States, you know, dribbling off the end, the Florida Keys. Where we get our people, we drag most of the people from the East Coast, Canada, eastern part of Canada, Midwest, Minnesota area, all the way out to Minnesota, maybe a little further out, sometimes Iowa. And then we bring them all down here. Now, when you go further west, they start getting dragged over to Mexico and Southern California, some Texas, but then again, we're way south of Texas. We're way south. I mean, they're next to Mexico, but we are way south. And I wager bet our year-round temperatures probably more steady than theirs too. So we get a lot of people from all over. But we ended up getting, Monday night. I mean, a nice couple, and they come in and they go, do you got any pull tabs? Oh, whatever minutes. Hey, you got any pull tabs? No, I was putting a southern accent on, spin on. But pull tabs, they have them in like VFWs and these club things. I think they have them. It's a betting thing where you pull over. And they used to have them. I remember pull tabs from the carnivals, the church carnivals. It's funny with the church carnivals, any place that doesn't have gambling, when it's a church carnival, allows gambling. You know, bingo, a religious organization. They're able to curtail because it's fundraising for. I don't know if that's a provision. I think it's just a nonprofit has the ability to do certain things that for-profits can't. I guess, you know, that doesn't. There's a overriding theory that nonprofits be more, let's say, trustworthy or than of their revenue and more reliable than a for-profit, which not necessarily the case because there's organized crime gets involved in that stuff. You know, obviously the unregulated areas of sports betting, the numbers in the big cities, and then you have pull tabs. Now, pull tabs, when you pull over. If you get like, I haven't done it in a long time, so my apologies for people from the Midwest. You got to match like 3 cherries or something like that, and you pay 25 cents or $1 a pull tab, and you just maybe 4 of them. I think there's 4. And listen, I'm thinking back 40 something years ago. I think they've done it afterwards, but they were the things you bought. There was nothing like a 9-year-old kid buying a bunch of gambling. Yeah, you didn't have to be 21. I remember the church ones. I don't know if it was legal or not. They just think you could put quarters on the wheel. Do that. They give you money with that. It's funny. You know, on the boardwalk, it has to be prizes. But as those church carnivals, I always remember as being money. And then you could tell the people are going to be addicted to gambling addicts. I definitely, if I hadn't found alcohol first, let's say if alcohol didn't exist, then I'd be a gambler. I would be a bad gambler. The one of the ones that loses every fucking cent of their money each time they do it. And always, not each time, because you got to win every so often. You go, like, I'm going to win too. I'm going to get better at this thing. You never really get better. So when these people came on and asked for pull tabs, and I go, oh, is this, okay, this is one of these Midwest thing. And these bars, they have it at the bars. And like people bug the shit out of people for pull tabs all the time. You say, listen, I want to buy some pull tabs. And they say, they don't make any money selling pull tabs. No one tips for pull tabs, or maybe someone does. If they win, they do. Someone made a comment on, I saw it online where it's pulled up pull tabs on one of my social media feeds, and someone was asking, does anybody get all tied up when they're real busy and sick and tired of getting people's pull tabs? So these people from Minnesota asked about pull tabs. I said, no, sorry, it's not a thing in the regular restaurants here. And they look, I go, And they go, or whatever, cheese curds isn't a thing here too, right? And I wanted to tell people, or someone asked for some kind of package store. Instead of saying liquor store, is there a wine store, a beer store? That's when you go to a place and you don't know what they phrase it. They call it like a beverage. They could call it a beverage allocation center, BAC. They can call it whatever they want. But if you take the basic words, what you want to buy, beer and store. I want to buy some beer. Where do I go? Where do I buy liquor here? What kind of place? How can I get a hold of wine? That's a good question. But using your local word for the liquor store doesn't help sometimes. I remember someone asking me something, and they were calling something. It was only called that in the state. And they go, well, you don't know it that way? And it's like, you think we're going to start calling it by your thing, right? It's kind of like colonialism at work. When I guess one of those countries went and say they discovered some place, what they didn't discover because there's natives there. And people say, well, what's that animal over there? And they say something in Swahili, an elephant. And the British guy goes, we call that an elephant. Yeah, but you don't live here. We call it something else. We're not going to use your word. Well, no, we're going to, the British people say, we're all around the world, my friend. Pardon me, my friend, but we're all the way around the world. So we're going to name it elephant, and we're going to tell everyone else it's an elephant. It's not going to be your local word. So that's kind of like, it seems like that. It says, listen, we're going to propagate the definition. We're going to define this thing from your area. Like, and so we don't need, we don't do pull tabs here. We do. Maybe they do football pools, illegal poker machines. It used to be slot machines, and they give you kind of like a gift card someplace, which is funny if you think about it. I think it's the easier way to handle it. Someone wins, you have like a couple $100 gift cards, supermarket gift cards. You got to get. If you live in the area and you're gambling, you got to get your food, right? What's the difference? It's hard to track, right? So you go and say, what do you, if you're winning 5, 10, 20,000 a year, people say, wow, you bought a lot of groceries this year. You bought a lot of Swanson TV dinners. No. So the pull tab things, and the pull tabs on liquor stores, when you're down in an area, I don't know why you would use your local vernacular. I know you miss where you're from. I know you think it's great. And it is great. It is great. But, that's why people go on vacation from places, because they're tired. If they really wanted to see more of where they're from and they really love it, they love it so much, why do they go on vacation someplace else? Stay home on vacation. Go, I love it here so much. That's, we like it here in the Keys. We stay here sometimes on our vacations. Right? Or you go someplace different where they speak a different language. And they don't have pull tabs. There was a show on, Christ, I'm trying to remember if it was on HBO. Maybe on HBO. But it's a Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant show. It was Idiot Abroad. And I never came across, I don't remember coming across one of those toilets where they're just, you got to squat down. There's no toilet upper place. It's more like a hole in the ground. And it's not an outhouse. They got these low things. This is what people do. I guess, I wonder what fat people do when they have to, because they can't squat down like that. I mean, maybe they do. I mean, the Western civilization developed the seat so you can sit when you're doing that. In the Eastern, more busy cultures where there's more densely populated places, they said, we're not going to put a seat. We can't have people sitting there all day. Maybe they're going to be reading the Bhagavad Gita or Confucius sayings or something like that. They could be sitting there. You see what they do in the West? I mean, they could bring a newspaper in with them. They may use newspaper for, toilet paper, but it's also for reading. I know we use that here. We don't have a lot of toilet paper, but we do. The newspaper is not just for wiping yourself with. So out West, in the Western world, they sit, some guys go in there and they grab their coffee and their newspaper and walk into the bathroom. And the people will just be looking at them and say, they go and sit in the bathroom for a while when people are doing all that stuff. And a lot of times they don't even give them the private. It's just a row of these things. There's no privacy either. Just like boot camp. A lot of times, years and years ago, you didn't have any separation. There was no stalls. Yeah, stalls are a recent thing. Except for, the single seat outhouse. But if you've seen it big places and stuff like that, when you go into the Old West things, they had a row at the outhouse. The most foul. Oh, if you ever haven't, you know what? I don't even know why I'm making this Thanksgiving show. That's horrible on what I'm talking about. I don't want to even talk about that part. Yeah, I was going to go there. I was going to go and talk about how foul-smelling outhouses were. So this is just like, hey, it was only 100 years ago, man. Your ancestors, I'm thinking my family, probably 100, 120 years for indoor plumbing for some of my family. Yeah. Wasn't that long ago. When my great-grandparents, gosh, I guess my grandmother, I don't know. Maybe she did. Maybe she didn't. She was born in 1906. They may have had one inside their house or not. So that's not that far removed. So me making a big stink about it's kind of, I don't say historically hypocritical. Moving on. No pun intended. Thanksgiving. And I know some of you listeners, and I do appreciate, I want to go and send a shout out. Thank you for downloading all those episodes. I do appreciate it. I really do. Every time you do that, you raise our ranking. And when you raise our ranking, we're in a much better position to be able to negotiate. I don't want to add any more time to doing this stuff. I do appreciate the downloads. Keep it up. If I got new people coming in here, what I need is to get as many downloads as possible. What happens? It raises the ranking of the show. So thank you very much. So Thanksgiving's rolling around. We have a bunch of guests in the house. Most of the people are known. You'll have some people will have strangers come into their house, people that are dating, people they know, co-workers, spouses, boyfriends, significant others. Same for members of the family. And it really doesn't matter sometimes. Some families, you got what you see in the Hallmark commercial kind of, or Norman Rockwell painting of the lady putting it down, or Christ, I'm trying to picture these certain things. A Publix commercial, one of these big supermarkets that are just, they show a family getting together, having a nice conversation, being pleasant, people helping other people, people helping clear the table, which You got to be really confident to clear someone else's table, right? When you got fine, people put out their fine china, and they don't want other people touching it sometimes. Or the fine glassware, they don't want to do it. They want to do it themselves, and they don't realize, I got to clear a thing of 15 people. And I decided I'm going to do it myself. Well, that's a lot of work. You just gave up your day. You're not going to do it. If you cooked and all that stuff, you kiss it up. You just gave that to your family. But you may be in the best position out of all those people, because you may not have to. You can say, if this gets too feisty at the Thanksgiving table, the conversation, and that's where you got the thing. You're forced to invite people. When you have a regular dinner party, when it's not family members, you invite people who have similar social skills, similar interest, similar sense of humor. You try, because you don't want to get someone too outrageous unless you're trying to do one of those kind of parties where you try to bring an outrageous person. Bring them outrageous people. And they're going to be there for entertainment. That's kind of screwy. It's good to have people that are entertaining there for entertainment that you like. Right? Some people are easily offended, others aren't. But with family, God, people feel comfortable saying shit to themselves. That's amazing. It's amazing. They'll sit there. They'll sit there. People know what they should and shouldn't say in general when you're a grown up. I have children. They say things, incredible things. And some people find it funny. They could talk about mom's special friend who shows up when daddy goes to work. Right? That's a shocker. But usually, kids will just say some pretty outrageous things because they're kids. And then you got the people that just drink too much. I was one of them. And they'll just say all sorts of things. All sorts of things. Very interesting things. Things that make sense. Things that don't make sense. Kind of crazy rants. I don't know if it's a mixture of the alcohol or the turkey. You think you're just sitting there, you're drinking. It's hard to really, when you're stuffing yourself with food, it's hard to drink too much. So if you could just start eating earlier, maybe you could put yourself in a food coma where you're not saying shit at the end of it. But if you don't eat enough early and you drink and drink and drink, and that drink gets ahead of that alcohol, that food ingestion thing, oh boy. And then there's people that are just completely inappropriate. They know what they're, they rarely interact with these people, and they just want to say what they have their piece to say. Right in the middle. They just don't have the thing. They're focused on their one subject. One subject. Now, people say, listen, I have friends that are listeners of the show, and they said, Jim, you talk too much politics. Too much politics for them. But I'm telling you, you get into any conversation with someone on the opposite side of that, they will work in the subject in the conversation. They will work in a political subject into the conversation, or something about, something that try to spark some, and they say, getting people upset. I'm just being real. No, they're the ones that are focused on this. Because you can look at all my episodes, 531 of them. Not all great. Not all whatever they give out for potties. I wonder if it's called a potty. I bet it is. A potty. I got a potty. It sounds like you're going to go to the bathroom, right? Well, not all of them like that. But most of them aren't. Most of them aren't political. But you get it, the right person, every conversation is political. Everything. They'll just say that. I'm sitting at the bar, and someone was saying something, and the no concept, something, it was no partisan outlook to this one. It was about free speech. And she goes, this woman that comes in a bar and she's talking and stuff like that. And I didn't know where she was coming from. And I still to this day. There was a funny bit on Saturday Night Live. Is it a Republican or Democrat? This issue. Some issues are saying, like, they're not sure. And then they explain the end. Is this person a Democrat or a Republican? They'll say something. And they don't know. It's funny. So this lady was that way. She was saying stuff. And she goes, they can't say stuff like that. And I said, whatever. I'm not exactly saying what say. I said, as long as it's not threatening someone or hate speech, they can pretty much say whatever they want. Freedom of speech is in the Constitution. And that lady kept on thinking, and she took it as an insult. And I said to her, that includes whatever you have to say. And then she goes, well, I see what you're trying to do. I said, what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to tell you that you have a legitimate voice. So I'm saying you have the right to say it. Say whatever you want, as long as it's not hate speech and you're not threatening to hurt someone. You're making a threat. Or, inspiring other people to hurt people. So we're going to have these people over and they're just going to be entitled to say whatever they want. Especially have to have a couple drinks. We have to have an exit strategy. Might I say that you put different groups of people in different crews. Okay? And don't have them heavily interact. Have the people washing the dishes be either pro or anti. Right? And you choose are the most effective. The most effective people to clean you pick. Are they in the pro crowd or the anti crowd? I'm not saying which side. Just say prevalent. If the other crowd is more likely to go back and sit and watch football, send them back. Do that. They can eventually do something else. You can have them do something, empty the trash, do stuff like that. But send them to do that stuff. Now you got the people that really don't care either way. They can help clear the table. And clear the table. This way you have them in the between. They're going between the kitchen and the dining room and the living room. And you have it all in pool. You have all those groups separated. Just split it off. Say, hey, it's time to go. It's really nice. It'd be like right in the middle of dinner. It gets all heated and stuff like that. Maybe you just had the first 5 bites of your turkey. You're asking for a little gravy. And then your Uncle Al starts in. And it starts getting heated. And it's building. As the host, you might say, you know what? We're just gonna finish up here. I'd like to thank you all for coming. And people are just looking at you. Yeah. We're going to be having them we'll have some pumpkin pie, stuff like that. And then you take note of who's on which side. You take them and say, you come with me. And you, go in the thing. Now, obviously, you can't really stop people from eating. I know that. But you can always tie it right at the end. It says you know what, we've had enough eat. There'll be plenty of turkey sandwiches. Just keep them separate. Just let it go. Don't insult the people. Just go like that. Just say, don't point out that. Say, hey, listen, why did you do this? Don't point it out. Just say, hey, listen, we're not going to do this right now. We're not going to talk about this, huh? It's about Thanksgiving. We're giving thanks. We're not going to give reverse Thanksgiving. We're going to say, I'm just very thankful that we live in a country, and then you're going to say something horrible that pisses one side or the other off. You know what people say? I'm thankful for my family. I'm thankful for my friends. I'm thankful for the opportunity to sit here and eat this great selection of food. And the spirit of love that's in the room. And camaraderie. And you can go and elaborate from left and right. When I say left and right, I don't mean see partisan wise. I'm just saying you can elaborate, do all this stretching out of your grace. There's plenty of it. But, that's all that needs to be said at the end. And, whether you're Muslim, Baptist, Catholic, Jewish, Hasidim, Zoroastrian, just Scientologist. Do your sign off and dude, eat away. No, how's college? Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. No. Okay. It's great. The car's running great. Yeah. And that's Thanksgiving. But once they start talking about, got to watch, some say, so-and-so got an electric car. Now, that could be a good conversation. Well, how's that working out for you? Do you have a hard time getting a charge and stuff like that? But then someone's going to say, oh, on the other side, they're going to say something about it. You say something about an electric car, and then it's going to turn political. Just Thanksgiving, what turns out stuff. So whether it's the kind of family that you see in Norman Rockwell painting or the kind you see in a Mad magazine cover. You know Mad magazine? It's just like showing the weirdest stuff. I'm wishing you a happy Thanksgiving. Hopefully you won't have all that stress. Try to mitigate it. Take yourself out of it sometimes. When I say take yourself, just disengage. There's no reason. You're not going to change anybody's view at the table anyway. People that say shit at the Thanksgiving table that is controversial, they're not looking to have their mind changed. They're not open to it. They always got their website and their conspiracies and all that stuff. So they're on their way. There's no way your cousin's gone. That's horrible. But you know what? There's plenty of other people who can see the way you behave around it, and they'll just, maybe the younger ones will look at me. Oh, I want to behave like Uncle Ted, not Uncle Jim. I'm going to behave like Uncle Ted because he's having a good time and he never really said something outrageous and then get all pissed off. Well, this is Jim the Keys Bartender. I'm signing off. Thank you for listening today. Please share as many episodes as you can with family and friends. Spread that out. Spread the word. Not Thunderbird either. I mean, you can have Thunderbird. Stop it. It's Thanksgiving tradition. It's Jim the Keys Bartender signing off. Thank you for listening. Please download as many episodes as you can. Thank you and goodbye.